Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today I thought I would do something a little different. This is actually part of the system that I put in place actually when I was doing my lodge itself and working out all the different kind of storage solutions. And one of the things that I wanted to do, which is not technically storage but I thought would be helpful, is a way of being able to see what actual colours look like, so of inks and even markers. So one of the first things I did was I purchased this Simon Says stamp swatches stamp set. So I've been using those, and for this I find my stamp platform is really helpful, but you don't need a stamp platform. So I purchased these. These are actually coin storage pouches, and what you get is this lovely, it's like one of those plastic sheets that you put paper in, but you get these little 2" by 2" square little pouches, and you get 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so you get 20 on each one, and obviously you can do them back to back, so you can get 40 colours per sheet, and then they'll fit into most pockets because they've got so many different hole variations. Plus, worst case, you could always make your own holes into them as well. So I literally just got a couple of those. I think I got 3 pouches here of they have 10 in each, but as I said, if I get 40 on each one, that's 400 per pack, so that's gonna be a lot. 4, 8, 1200. Yes, I have 3, didn't I? Yes, so 1200 colours at least. That may be enough. It might not be with my markers, but anyway, we'll see. But we can always get more. But so the other thing that I did was I wanted, obviously, card to go into those little pockets. I have a guy that is like a paper mill. I call it like a paper mill, but he basically gets in all the paper. He has, like, I guess, massive sheets. They're not in A4. He literally cuts them to A4, A5, A3, whatever size you ask for. So I guess it doesn't matter to him. If you want a pack of A4, he's got to cut it anyway. Could he do something to make me these 2 by 2 cards and cut them? Because I thought that his way would be a lot better, and that's exactly what he did. I basically purchased, let's say, a chunk of card, and he then cut that into these little 2 by 2s so that they would fit into those little wallet pockets. Now, clearly this is something that you can easily enough cut yourself. It is obviously time consuming, but it's possible. It's not difficult to do, it's just time. So then the next thing that I did was I got some labels, and I printed the names onto the labels, and then I stuck the label onto the bottom of the card. And you know, once it's inside the pocket, you're really not going to, I mean, you can barely see that there's a label there now. But if you have your stamp platform, what you can do is, you know that you're going to position this little square in the corner every time. So in my case, you could do it that way up as well, actually, if you wanted to, so that the label was down there. But I decided that I would do it that way. It just how it happened. I positioned my stamp so that when I stamped it, so this, in this case, this one is ruby red. So let's take our ruby red. And I positioned my stamp, and then I just ink up my stamp and stamp it. And obviously be careful not to touch it straight away because you don't want to smudge it. And then you've got it in the right position. And then all you need to do is, for the next colour, you obviously want to wipe that clean, because otherwise you might contaminate the next colour. But then you just put that down, you ink it up, and it's already in the right place. You don't have to fiddle around with it. Now, you may want to play around with some cheap cut some cheaper paper 2x2 just to play around to make sure this is in the right place, exactly in the right place. But otherwise, it's sort of, in that regard, that's why I think it's a lot simpler having the stamp platform, because you haven't got to worry about repositioning and making sure every time that the stamp is going to be in the right place, because you know it's going to be in the right place because it's in the same place. As long as you put your card into the corner and you position your stamp accordingly, then you know it's going to be perfect every time. But then I've decided that for my markers, that it really wasn't, obviously I didn't really want to just, I want to do the same idea of typing the names exactly the same as this. However, I was thinking, well, how am I going to get the colour onto here about it? And I was thinking that actually, okay, I know it's another label, but what I needed was a label that I could colour onto and then peel off and stick onto that card at the top here. And my thinking was that if I had round labels, I could colour over them. It didn't matter if I went over the edges, because, well, I guess it doesn't matter even if it's square labels, but the problem I found with the square labels is this. Generally speaking, I know these are huge, but it's just to show you the idea. Generally speaking, the square labels butt absolutely against each other. So even the smaller ones. So if you're colouring, you would find that you would go into the next label, which means you then waste a label each time. And what I wanted to do was colour it and peel it off and not have to worry so much about the edges. In fact, deliberately go over the edges so that when I peeled it off, it was a complete square or circle or whatever. Now, you can buy white circle labels easy enough. I've got some, I did have some at one point, and they come in various sizes. And the good thing about circle labels is obviously they tend not to be able to be butting up against each other in quite the same way. But you need to double check that because it would make it more difficult. However, I've got a ton of labels, big square ones that I really just am not going to be using. And haven't done for years, you know, they've just been sitting here. So I decided to make use of my silhouette, and I basically fiddled around so that, it's quite hard to see, I think. Oh, there we go. So that there's 4 circles in that one square label, and you'll see then there's like, can see there's the 4 there, and then there's another 4, and then another 4 at the end there. And I've offset them, as you can see, so that when I colour it's easier. And I just had to, it took a few cuts to fiddle around to make sure that the positioning worked. But I just thought that saves me wasting all these labels that I'm not going to use anyway. And then literally, again, all I'm going to do is say, take a marker here, so say this lovely purple, and just, within reason, not worry about where the edges are. And you can see now there's the circle, so let's take another one. So you can see I've got another one here, and I'm going past the edges so you get a really smooth look. Obviously I would do this more organized if I was doing this for real, but I'm just doing it to show you guys the kind of thing I mean. I guess it's probably self-explanatory now, but I think what I'll show you is what they look like then once they're peeled off. And you can see I've got enough room to go past the edges, because then you get a really smooth look. And once they're dry, you'd normally wait for them to dry, but then you've got this gorgeous even circle which can be stuck. and I don't want to stick it properly, but you can stick it down onto your card and you've got your name underneath. You know exactly what it is. It's a beautiful clean looking. You can also get is complete plain sheets that have got no labels on, and so you could cut circles if you've got a Cricut machine or anything like that. You could cut circles on that. And by the way, I set this, you can see here it didn't go through the backing. I set it to vinyl on this silhouette, and I think it would be the same on the Cricut, and it gives it like that kiss cut, so it just goes enough through to cut the paper, but not so far through that it cuts the backing, which is really helpful. So that's how I did that. So as I say, you could buy plain sheets and cut your own circles on it, because it might be that when you find a sheet of circles that are for sale, that they're still too close to be able to do this kind of colouring on them. I haven't looked, so I'm not sure. So if that's the case, you might want to get a plain sticker sheet if you haven't got, you know, a whole sheet that's no stickers on it, just all sticky itself, and you can put a whole sheet of sticky circles on it using your Cricut or Silhouette or whatever machine you've got. You could do it like that. But so that's what I've got for my markers, and obviously the inks, as I said, I'm using my stamp. So I am going to probably go away for a couple of weeks and do some more work on this, and then I will come back in like 2 seconds for you and show you how far we've got. Okay, so since I last saw you in your time, probably 2 seconds ago, it has been probably a good month. I haven't 100% completed the colour sample book, but I thought that I would show you what I've done, because there's certainly plenty in there to show you how it's coming along. I've done a good chunk of it. I've got one more load of stamps to do, inks to do, and I've got some markers still left to do that I want to finish off. But on the whole, I thought that there's enough in there to show you how it's coming along and kind of what it will look like when it's finished. So I've just put it in this lovely binder. This is a Martha Stewart one. I don't know if she still does these. This is one I've had for a long time. I'd kept it because I was like, I want to use it for something special, and I felt this was a really nice use for it. So now there are a couple of them that I for some reason just missed out doing the actual labels, so I've got to go back and print a few more labels, just a couple where I'd obviously just missed the colour. It's easily done, trust me. And but otherwise we are got on quite well. So from afar, let me just show you, we've got all different things, and the colours look great. I think it looks really so pretty, but let's get you a bit closer. So what I've done here, for example, is for the Distress Oxides, which I know will stamp really well with this lovely solid block. It gave me an opportunity to really see the colour and how the oxide kind of went across the card as a block, because you quite often use it in that way where you put it down as a solid colour and then you use techniques on it. So I thought of those 4 little stamps that I showed you, that was quite a good one to use for this. Now I wanted to try and use different ones of that stamp set for different brands. Obviously I'm going to end up having, you know, going back to the beginning, there's only 4 designs in there, but it would just sort of break it up so when you went through it was kind of obvious where the demarcation of the different brands were. Now the other option of course is to put in some dividers, but I just felt like here you've just got a couple of pages, so you know, keep adding in dividers to that, it kind of gets a bit thick and heavy, so I didn't worry about that. Now as I showed you before, I printed out my stickers, I put the name of it in the capitals and then the colour underneath in small type. That was just so that the name stood out, and then I stuck this down first as I showed you, and then I stamped those using my stamp platform. Anyway, I had, as I said, had these cut. The Plastics, again, I think I told you, but it's been such a while, were coin holders, easy to get on Amazon. Again, not expensive at all really, so very helpful for holding these little pieces in, just a perfect size really. So then I basically stamped and labelled all of those, and then we went on and I double-sided it. This side doesn't have like a hole at the top, so you have to put them in both on that side, but I put them back to back because obviously why waste it. And I've got obviously space for more here. Oops, I might have to get some. And then here's my altenew, so I did that in these beautiful dots. This was actually the first one I did, and I think this has come out really, really nicely. So that's all my altenew, and then we come on to my stamping up here. So again, a different one of those little stamps, and I just think it looks really effective. So that's the stamping up. Now the only other one I've got left now is the normal distress inks. I think that's my only other ink. And so then we went on to markers. Now I showed you earlier that I was basically cutting out these circles like a vinyl kiss cut on my silhouette, and then colouring them while they were on the sheet, because that gave you that perfect kind of shape. But I was thinking, oh, but then I'm going to have like a second sticker, like 2 stickers on here. And it's like, oh, I don't know what I think about that. But actually, I think it's come out really well. So obviously with these, this is going to stay the same. It's not going to change per brand. And with these, what I did actually reverse it, in that with the stamps, ink pads, I did the name in large and the colour smaller. But for me, for the Copics in particular, I'm really familiar with a lot of the numbers now because I've used them such a lot. So I wanted the numbers to pop out, not the name. So I made those more prominent so that that would be more obvious when you just glanced over it. And that's the other beauty of having them in here, is you don't leave them in here when you're sorting your colours out, that you think, oh, does this go with that? You can pull it out and put them down and think, yeah, that batch goes together, but that one just doesn't work. Put it back, grab a different one. So that is all of my Copic markers done. So as I said, I've got my pro markers, my hunky dory, my Stampin' Up ones. So I've still got quite a few markers to do, but I figured that was enough there to show you kind of how it looks and how it turns out. And obviously that's all my inks, and I'm already using this. I've already found that even though it wasn't complete, I was still using it. I was really, really pleased with it. So I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found it helpful and it's given you an idea. I'm sure you've seen something similar or the same, because these stamps were obviously from Simon Says Stamp, and they were designed for this in mind. So I'm sure there's been something similar, or if not the same, done already from people. But you never know, you might not have seen it. So hopefully if you haven't, you found this helpful. And even if you have, sometimes I think people do things slightly differently. So hopefully you've seen something different here as well and found it useful, whatever. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.